So reading up to be prepared.
Ah,
I have some fun equations that you can't see because of the glare of the light. So I have to talk about them. Ha 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 ha.
yeah, visually trying to do anything like on Zoom's always fun. Like at least with us right now, we don't have like any like virtual background. That's always fun. You try to show something, and it's just like bleeds into the background.
Oh yeah. And then the other um problem is like your light source and all of those things. If it's not like dimmed to a certain level, anything you hold up is gonna like my note here is on a white post-it note. It's gonna be incredibly reflective. It's not nobody's gonna see it. So
I
uh
just love when like the lighting's a certain way, and then you just like the face is darkened, so it looks like you're trying to protect the identity. I feel like there should be like a voice modulator. Like,
right. Yeah, that would be funny. We blurred it out and just randomly started talking. I'm sure people would be able to figure out which one of us it was, that um but so how's your week been going? What have you been up to?
fantastic. Does that sound convincing enough? No, no, I mean workouts are going great. Still cutting weight with my yeah, my goal. I don't say New Year's resolutions. I'm down a little bit over 9 pounds. Would like to lose between 5 and 10 more just to see get there. Just like it's literally just to see if I can. Like
Okay. How long ago did you start your cut?
December 29th.
Okay. So what is this? 9 weeks?
Yep. So yeah, about a pound a week. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Which takes us into our topic today.
Boom, 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 boom.
So diet breaks. We've talked about it before. And if you go back to our what's your issue getting lean, we did a two-part thing, nutrition and fitness one. We talked about it a little bit in there, but we also talk about some other things in a different podcast where we talked about how long should you run a program, um, and specifically something that comes up often. I feel like with talking with clients and other people that just ask us questions, or at least me, anyways. Like they think that weight loss is linear, like it just goes straight down. They don't realize that it's a curve and really more of a stair step kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's especially fun tracking weight daily and really seeing that and trying to get people over that mentality of like expecting like I guess almost instant feedback of behaviors. Like it's like okay, I should see 0.2 pounds or whatever every day. Like this week, I think is really important for people because like if you're like me, you thoroughly enjoyed the Super Bowl. So like I say, I've lost 9 pounds. If I go by what I tracked on Monday, I've lost like 4 pounds because I gained magically gained 5 pounds overnight because it was all body fat, right? No, it's yeah, there's a little bit of booze, a lot of salt, like
What did you have for the Super Bowl?
homemade brisket and some mac and cheese and some baked beans. Yeah, some good stuff.
How'd you make your brisket?
In a crock pot with like a yeah. That turned out really yeah. It's good because just toss it in the crock pot early in the day. Go to the gym, go about your business, and by the time the Super Bowl came on, boom, brisket.
Yeah, I'm only used to a brisket with like a smoker. Never attempted it in a crock pot, but
I love the crock pot. Crock pot. I like anything where I can prep and cook and not have to worry about it. There's chicken in the crock pot right now, so yeah.
yeah, we had homemade pizza with sourdough. Susan's been using the same starter for some number of time now. I don't know how many weeks or months it's been now, but every week we have something with sourdough. So to continue to keep the feeding the sourdough, keep it alive. And we had a chili and cheese dip, and I think the kids had um, nuggets or something. I can't remember. I don't know, but
They're not into the sourdough pizza.
no, no, they ate the pizza too. But I think they had like a mixture of random stuff that we had. No, they like the pizza. Definitely. They're like pizza, like little
like
monsters.
like any good child does, yeah. Like pretty much anybody does. I don't think there's anybody that's like, nah, I don't like pizza. Like,
Yeah. Um, but the reason why I want to talk about diet breaks really is this. We mentioned it, you know, I don't know, a month ago. By the time this podcast comes out, that uh, if you were thinking about losing weight, this is back in January. If you're thinking about losing weight, that was the time that you needed to start thinking about it really hard and get on with losing weight if you're trying to cut for something in the summertime. And so, right about now, when this podcast comes out, should be about the time you're thinking about taking a break from your diet. So, one of the reasons why that is there was a study called the Matador study, and they had two groups of people, and um, the group that continued with a continuous caloric deficit over I want to say it was a 16-week span, um, ended up not, they ended up losing weight, but they didn't end up losing as much weight as the group that took 4 weeks on a diet, 1 week of maintenance, 4 weeks on a diet, 1 week of maintenance. So when they compared the two groups, the second group that took the breaks lost more weight overall and maintained more muscle mass. So
I think that's a big key takeaway because I know so many people get so obsessed with just the number on the scale and by any means necessary. And it's not becomes less about losing body fat and more about losing pounds. And they're not even thinking about, oh, I lost a good deal of muscle mass as well, which you do not want to do.
no, no. And there's, I can't remember the name of the study, but there's a really well done study on it with like pro bodybuilders, I think, or bodybuilders in general. I can't remember. But they lost, anybody that lost more than 1.25% of body mass in the week lost some amount of muscle mass greater than anticipated. Um, so if you're on the race to lose a lot of weight and you're losing muscle mass, that's not going to really help you in the long term to continue your regular activities of daily living or even look the way that you want to look at the end of your cut.
Yeah,
Uh,
really counterproductive to lose a bunch of muscle mass when you're wanting to look good.
yeah. So thinking about taking a break and then moving forward, um, you've been doing your cut now for 9 weeks. Have you taken a break yet at all?
I have no, well, like the thing is with the most of my cut, it's been just a little bit of calorie deficit. The main thing with me has been increasing caloric expenditure because I made that decision because I really didn't want to cut that much food because I like the amount that I eat. So I cut a little bit, and especially over the next few weeks, it's going to be cut a little bit more. I'm trying to cut out a little bit more booze over the next few weeks. Always easy to do after the Super Bowl before baseball season. But no, I have not taken like an official break yet.
Yeah. Um, so most of the time when I work with clients, I try to do a 4 week cut, 1 week maintenance, 4 week cut, 1 week maintenance. Sometimes it's less than that. Sometimes it's 3 week cut and then a 1 week of maintenance, or rarely is it longer than that. Like the longest I think usually goes around 6 weeks, just because um, like you, like the break also gives you like a sense of normalcy. Because you're
It's good mentally and emotionally too. Yeah, like you're not feeling like you're constantly having to be driven to be in a caloric deficit.
right. Um, so when you're calculating a uh, deficit, I realize that you're increasing your caloric expenditure, right? So um, your deficit plus the expenditure increase would be your caloric deficit because you're expending more calories and calories. So what do you like to keep your number around when you're
Like I start out with like it's a lot of kind of like playing around, and even with when I work with clients, it's the same way. Like figuring out what that maintenance is, and then tinkering with it just ever so slightly. Like even if it's just 200 calories a day, that way it's not so crazy. You know, like if you're like, oh, we're gonna cut 500 to 1,000 calories a day, nobody wants to do that. We're going to expend 500 to 1,000 calories a day. Nobody wants to do that either. Like that sounds awful. So just starting out incrementally and going, okay, if we can figure out a way to be in a 200 calorie a day deficit, and then slowly build upon that. It's like, okay, that worked. I dropped a little bit of weight. Let's bump it up by another 100, bump it up by another 100 until eventually I'm in about that 500 calorie a day deficit. So that antiquated research of 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of body fat. But it's, to me, that's the easiest one to, it's bullshit.
It's a relative thing to think about. And, but I always say it's a relative. It's um, relative to what we're talking about. There's not a lot of good studies on like really how much if we had a pound of fat and you burned it, how much energy does it put off? It's when it comes to like a human body, that's not going to work.
Right.
Like, how are you going to do that? You're going to take like a cadaver, and, like,
Right. And just light it on fire, like, which sounds like fun in a
attempt
morbid
to
way,
get
but
1 pound of fat from a cadaver, like just fat. Like that's going to be really difficult to do, like, because there's so much other stuff that's like interlaced around all of that. So, um, so relatively to that, the 3,500 calories for a
so
pound.
we can't just scoop off a pound of fat, then just blow it up and see how much how much energy it propels.
I mean, if you could, that would be impressive. I mean, I imagine all right, let's back up. I imagine that if you had someone that's incredibly super morbid obese, it might be easy to scoop a pound of fat, but from the cadaver body. But most people know can't. It's not gonna work out for that. But that being said, so similar to Matt, I like to start off a calorie deficit per, like, thinking about it, a per day approach. So spread out across a week. Maybe we're getting to 3,500 calories across a week, but each day varies depending on what you're doing. So I'm a big fan of carbohydrate cycling to make sure that you're getting plenty of carbs on the day that you're working out so you can continue to perform at your best, at your greatest intensity, which is going to help you the most with that increased caloric expenditure, even if you're just doing cardio to get your extra caloric expenditure in, which I would suggest if you're trying to get extra caloric expenditure, that's what you choose. But that's a different topic. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. But when we're thinking about spreading that out across the week and then like shifting things around, you get that, you lose a certain amount of weight, right? So you've figured out how much you need to lose each week, and then you lose a number of pounds. So you said that you've lost 9 pounds, right? So let's get a calculator. I'll just use the one on my phone. I'm not a fan of using one on my phone because I have like fat fingers, and so I have to like type it several times. It's really annoying for me. But let's see here. So this is the equation. So if you're listening to this podcast, you can listen through, come back later to this point with a notepad, some way to write some things down. This is the trick. So you want your weight loss volume in kilograms. So Matt's lost 9 pounds. So how do we get to kilos from pounds?
It's a couple different ways. Like, you can multiply by 0.45.
You could multiply by 0.45.
I always find that one easier.
Yeah.
I'd rather multiply than divide.
Yeah, I get it. Or you could divide by 2.2. All right. So we gripe about this often where people want to do things in pounds, but basically every study out there is in kilos, like grams and kilos. So it's all in metrics. Okay. Like, it's a little bit easier system to use when you're doing science because it's got 10 increments instead of everything divisible by 4. But either way, so Matt's weight loss 9 pounds divided by 2.2 or times 0.45. So 9 times 0.45 is 4.05 kilograms. That's the amount of kilos that Matt has lost in the 9 weeks. So I have another blank card here. Keep up with these numbers. So 4.05 kilograms. Then we're going to convert that into grams. So how do we get that to grams?
That's where you get to move some decimal places.
times 1,000. So,
that's why I always remember like you back in like middle school math where it's like
oh
you
yeah.
go, ooh.
How many sig figs are involved? All right, so that equates to 4,050 grams that Matt has lost in this 9 weeks. We're going to take that number, we're going to multiply it times 5.9, which is an approximate calorie measurement per gram of weight that you've lost. That's the amount of calories it's taken for you to burn off that gram of body weight. All right, so getting some fun math here. It's very specific.
See, this is the reason, like, even though, like, again, like I said, it's bullshit. I like the 3,500. It's so much easier.
Yeah. Hey, I get it. So in total, it has taken Matt 23,895 calories. Like that's how much he's burned to lose that 4.05 kilos or 9 pounds.
That sounds like a lot of damn work when you do it that way. Like, you know, like you're like,
It's
holy
a lot of
hell.
energy to work. You've done a lot
Yeah.
of hard
Yeah.
work. Good job. That's part of it. It's all about the success. Success is the work that you put in. It's not the end result. It's the effort that you put forth, right? Or at least that's what I tell everybody, and that's what I firmly believe. Like
Absolutely.
success is achieved. All right, so 9 weeks is like 9 whole weeks, 9 set, or like are we? Because this comes down to a number of days.
Right.
So okay, so 9
What do
times
the
7, 63. Yeah, just making sure that we're at 9 weeks. I don't want to
right.
on days or not have it off. So 63 days. So this is going to be important in a moment. So we take that calorie number that I had before, which was 23,895, divided by the number of days that you've been doing your cut. So that's 379.3. That's a round up number. Calories is your daily deficit. So remember we talked about daily things just a couple of minutes ago. Matt said he likes to start at a lower number and then ramp up. And he's been doing extra cardio to get up to his calorie number. So that's how he got to that 379 calories, is that small amount of deficit that he's doing in his food, plus the extra work that he did to create that 379 calories. Okay. So now's where it gets a little bit more in what you've been doing. So what is the number of calories that you've actually been consuming over, like, what was your last, like, your daily, you've been cutting, what is your calories that you've been?
It's been varying, but I've been trying to keep it around, excuse me, around like 2,700.
Okay. So that's what you've been consuming.
That's like typically most weekdays. Then like a lot of weekend days, you're looking at a little bit over 3,000.
Okay. Of what you've at. So your average though for the week.
Average, you're probably looking at like 28. Yeah, let's be safe.
So
With the typical tendency of anybody, myself included, to underestimate the caloric intake.
yeah, no, that's okay. I just want to make sure. So like for the purpose of walking through this example. All right. So that's what Matt has been consuming. And so we're going to add that to his daily deficit that we calculated before. So 2,800. So that gets us to 3,179, which based off of all of our estimations, right? So all of these things aren't like hard truth. It's like the 3,500 calorie thing is not a hard truth. There's very few hard truths in nutrition. So most everything is an estimate of something. So either way, that 2,800 plus the 379.3 comes out to 3,179. That would be Matt's maintenance calories for a diet break week.
Which makes so much sense because that's what I like. To make sure what I was doing for a deficit, I tracked calories over time, just like I have clients do, and my maintenance was right around 31 to 3,200 calories. So boom, look at that. The math works.
Yeah. And so there it is. That would be, if you're taking a break, that's what you would need to consume to maintain the weight loss that you've created already. Right. So as Matt goes further, and if he lost the additional 10 pounds that he was talking about losing, he could run this whole equation again. And if he was still consuming 2,800 calories, it would be 2,800 calories plus whatever that number is at the end. I'm not going to walk through all these numbers again, but then that would be his new maintenance calorie number at that time. Right. So that's the importance of a diet break. It allows you, he's been consuming around 300 less every day for the past 9 weeks. So taking a break, you get a little bit more sense of normalcy in, 300 calories extra each day across a week is going to help you out with better fat loss and muscle maintenance over the next set of cut. Right. So everybody out there, that was the biggest thing about that I wanted to talk about today was like when you're taking a break, you have to be really mindful and kind of plan it out. Like where are you going to have it? If you're cutting everything out and you're tracking that and doing that well, it's going to help you so much to be able to enjoy a break. You can plan your break around a vacation. You can plan your break around an event that you have coming up or anything like that. But that would be what I would suggest if you're trying to get to a break. That would be it. That's how you calculate the calories that you need. And of course, as always, make sure you get all of your protein. Definitely need the protein, the most essential piece of it. And because I haven't said it yet, fruits and vegetables for your carbs. Get your things in there and make sure you get
And strength training to make sure you maintain muscle mass.
and the intensity. That's the thing. You need to keep up the intensity, which is why we do I like the carb cycling part of it. Is you need the intensity to maintain the muscle mass. It's like Ron Swanson, don't half-ass anything. Whole ass one thing.
Yeah, I always tell people, yeah, like the thing that doesn't change is the strength training routine. Like I'll increase the cardio intake, I'll increase the cardio output, decrease the calorie intake with the food, but the intensity of the strength training always remains the same, whether I'm bulking, maintaining, or cutting.
Yeah. So, yeah. Do you have anything else about a diet break?
After that fun mathematic lesson that I look forward to seeing how you pin that in the show notes because I get the visual of like somebody just like driving to work listening to this episode like going what the hell like how do
That's what
I
I said. If you're listening to this podcast, go back to this point. You can like put it all together. Just because, like, I was talking with somebody about it.
See, this is how you increase listens. Like you do something where somebody listens the first time and they have to go back re-listen again. Boom, there
Oh
you
yeah,
go.
I guess so. I mean, that's
You created artificial engagement.
I suppose. But somebody did ask that specific question, like, well, how do I figure that out? I was like, it's a lot of math. They're like, well, what do you mean? It's just kind of like, I don't know, just like cut out like 2 foods. I'm like, not really. But it's not specific foods that you want to lose. Like, talking about the importance of the protein intake. A serving of chicken that's around 4 ounces is about 400 calories or so. Like, no, it's less than that. It's like
That's 100, like 120.
120. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It was like, because that's 400. Yeah, but let's say a whole, like 8 ounces of chicken is the 400 calories. That's what I was thinking. Like a half of a chicken breast usually is close. You're getting close to 8 ounces of chicken there. Would be the same equivalent as like 2 Krispy Kreme donuts, original glaze. Love those things. Matt can vouch for it. But what's going to help you feel fuller longer during your cut is going to be the 8 ounces of chicken. And also, you get an increased thermic effect of food, TEF. We talked about that back in the acronym episode. But if you had the donuts, I'm not saying you can't have donuts, but if you're trying to find a way to like help yourself stay satiated while you're on a cut, you got to make sure you get the protein in, spread it out throughout a day. We'll talk about that more on another.
Okay, yes, definitely. Yeah, you're a lot fuller after 8 ounces of chicken versus 2 donuts that you can literally, if you the hot and ready sign's on, you can just ball them up, stick them in your mouth one at a time like they're popcorn.
Oh yeah. They're but I don't have anything against those people. But either way, so if you guys are out there and you're listening to this podcast, thanks for listening. Obviously, you need to go back and listen to it a second time. So
Pump up those numbers.
all those like
Listen to the numbers to pump up the numbers. There you go.
Hey man, we'll get you pumped, pump you up,
Pump you up.
do it now.
I love the pump.
That's a different kind of pump that Matt's talking about.
No, yeah, just gotta go watch Pumping Iron. Go watch Pumping Iron. Then if you're not ready to like just run through a brick wall after watching Pumping Iron, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I suppose, or at least go lift really heavy. Like it's time to get some weights in because they are not lifting like lightweight in a lot of those shots in Pumping Iron. If you look,
it makes me want to run through the wall of the gym to go lift weights. So like that's how like I can't take the time to like badge in with the key card or even open the door. Just I run straight through the wall and just
yeah, that makes sense. Either way,
just like the Kool-Aid man.
Maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep.